It's hard to believe that such an easy stitch can make such a pretty blanket. This is the linen stitch, also known as the moss stitch, and it consists of single crochet and chains, and that's it. And I really enjoyed making the chunky tassels at the end. I hope you enjoy. All right, I'm going to take my color A, which is whipped cream, in the Lion Brand Respun Thick and Quick. I took 3 skeins of this, and there's 223 yards in each skein. I took 9 skeins of my color B, which is also Lion Brand Thick and Quick, in the mandala, I don't know how you say that, in Stairwell. It has multiple colors, changes from dark to light, all kind of earthy tones. So that took 9 skeins, and there's only 87 yards in each of those skeins. Okay, as I said, if you're going to follow my pattern, you chain 123. You can chain any multiple of 2, so an even number, and then add another chain at the end of your chain row. So for row 1, find your second chain from the hook, 1, 2. You can go into the chains if you like. I like to go in the back bump. I think it makes a nicer edge. There's your back bump. And we're just going to go single crochet. This whole blanket will be single crochet and chains. It's the linen stitch, also known as the moss stitch. So go all the way across, either go in the chain or in the back bump. If you lose your back bump, come back around, find your chain, turn it around, find your horizontal bar, and that's your back bump. So continue on. This is just a sample size. Yours is going to be much, much longer. I will meet you at the end of row 1. I'm at the end of row 1. There's your nice edge. And we're going to chain 2. 1, 2, and turn. And here we're going to start our linen stitch or moss stitch. We're going to skip that, excuse me, that very, very first stitch. Go into the next one with a single crochet, chain 1, skip the next stitch, go into the next stitch. You're going in that whole stitch with a single crochet and a chain 1. Skip the next stitch. This is what you're going to do all the way down your row. Chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 1. Always make sure you're chaining 1. You can go back and kind of feel that you left your space there. So continue on. You'll end up with a single crochet at the end of your row. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, we are at the end. There we go. We're at the end of our row 2. Skip that stitch. The last stitch will be single crochet. You can go into the last full stitch. I like to also include the chain from the previous row. It helps to keep the edge straight. You do not have to do that. It's not required at all. We're going to switch colors now. I'm going to put this over the hook. It just helps bring it along. Leave yourself a few inches. We're going to be weaving in as we go. That's the way I'm going to do it. You can come back and weave in later if you like. Pull your color B through. And chain 2. Let's turn. I'm going to skip that first stitch, come into my chain space. It gets really easy now because you're working into a chain space. Bring that loop up, single crochet. Now I'm going to bring this tail up and make a chain one. I can work the rest of that tail in when I come back. Now, for that color A tail, this is how I did it on my blanket. I pulled this, I used my smaller hook, pull the tail through. I just feel like it catches it in here really well. As a matter of fact, I had to take out a few rows, and it was not that easy to just pull this out. I had to really work on it. So it does work it in quite well. Now just come back a couple of stitches. You don't have to do it this way. You can come back in later and weave them in. I just found that this worked really, really well. Just pulling it through. So a couple of stitches over, a couple of stitches back, maybe 2 or 3. We're leaving this out because we'll catch it on the way back. Now, I did my chain 1. You want to skip the single crochet, go into the chain space. You always want to make sure you're skipping this V. Don't go into the V. Skip that V. Come over here. Single crochet and chain 1. See how that tail is worked in there? Single crochet, chain 1. Skip over. Make sure you don't go into that V. Make sure you skip this V. Come over here to the left side. And chain 1. Make sure you're always chaining 1. If you're not sure, go back and make sure you left a space there. Skip the single crochet. Go into that chain space. Single crochet, chain 1. I love, love, love this stairwell. I love the colors in it. I love how it continues to switch colors because you're using the same stitch all the way around or all the way throughout the blanket. It could get boring, but this helps to prevent it from being boring because the color keeps changing. So I either like for my stitches to keep changing or for my color to keep changing. So keep going. Single crochet, chain 1. If you're not sure you did a chain 1, go back and make sure you have a space. I do that a lot because if you forget your chain 1, the pattern doesn't work out quite right. Okay, we're going to go into this last chain space here. And a single crochet and a chain 2. You chain 2 at the end of each row. Let's turn it. Same thing. We're going to skip that first stitch. There's your V. Come into the chain space. Single crochet and a chain. That first chain 2 counts as a single crochet and a chain. Make sure you're skipping that V. Single crochet and a chain. Okay, I'll meet you at the end of the row. Okay, this is where we're going to pick up that tail from the beginning. Skip that single crochet, go into the chain space. You're just working right over that tail now. Chain 1. Now, when you're at the very end, skip that V stitch. This is your chain from the very beginning. Remember that was the chain 2, which counted as a single crochet in a chain space. So it's right there. You're going to start your single crochet. You have your 2 loops. We're going to switch colors again. And I can go ahead and clip. Make sure you're not clipping your stitches though. Clip your ends there. That'll just work right in. As I said, I came back. I'd take a few rows out and didn't have any trouble whatsoever with those pieces holding. I had a little trouble getting my yarn out. All right, switch back to color A. I'm going to give myself a tail here. And I just want to show you again how we weave in as we go. If you want to do it this way, you don't have to. Chain 2, flip. All right, I'm going to take my smaller hook. Come behind here. I'm just going to weave it in. You could use a needle for this if you prefer. Just this chunky yarn, super bulky yarn, works really well to use a hook. I find it easier. All right, so 2, 3 stitches, however many you want to do. And then come back the other way. I didn't realize I had so much of a glare there. Oop. Come on, there we go. And one more. One more for good measure. Okay. Now remember, we take this other tail, put it over here. You're going to go in and make your first stitch, your first single crochet in that first chain space. Work over that tail, single crochet, but now bring your tail up for the chain 1. You can drop it. You can also just pull it through. All right, find your next. I pulled my chain space tight with that when I pulled my yarn through. So find your chain space. Chain 1. I forgot a chain space there. Chain 1. Make sure you're going into the chain space. Okay, and just remember, when you come back, you're going to work over this tail, and then you can cut that one and cut this one, and it'll stay. See how pretty that pattern is? And it's pretty on both sides. So that is all there is to this. You're going to continue for as long as you want. As I said, I'm making mine vertically because it's going to be longer this way, not as wide. Mine ended up being 54 inches long and 46 inches wide. You can adjust it however you want. Just make that initial chain either as wide as you want or as long as you want. So this is how the ends are going to look, or the top and bottom for me, if you don't make a border. They're just going to be hanging out like this, and then this side by weaving those ends in as you go, it's going to look the same when you come back around. That will be pulled in here. All right, if you have any questions on this, leave it in the comments. I'll be happy to get back to you. And I'm going to now show you how to make the really cute, big, bulky tassels. So when you get to the end of your final row, it will be color A, however long or wide you wanted to make yours. And you're just simply going to chain one, just finishing off, fastening off, and pull it tight. And you can weave in those two ends. Actually, you don't need to weave in that one. You can cut that one, weave this one in. Right, to weave this in, my daughter-in-law Becca recommended these needles. They're really nice and easy to thread this big bulky yarn through. They also have them in smaller sizes. Comes in a pack with multiple sizes. So just weave it on in. Just find your tunnels. Give yourself a nice finished edge there. Jump over here and just come back. Don't pull it too tight. You want it to still look the same as the other stitches. So that's it. We can just cut this. As always, be super careful when you're cutting, that you're not cutting your stitches, you're just cutting your tail. It's a nice finished edge. And now we're going to move on to those super cute chunky tassels. All right, for my tassels, I just found a book. It's like 9.5 inches long. Make yours as long, as thick as you want, but this worked out well for me. Also, like a tablet, an iPad case would be about the same. And this is not very thick. So I just wanted to show you what I ended up using. And I'm going to wrap my yarn. What worked for me was 40 times. Your first piece will end up at the bottom. As you wrap, that's once, so that you have one in the front and one in the back. Keep it kind of loose. If you get too tight, it's hard to take off the loops. So that was one. I'm not going to bore you with the whole. All right, so that's two. You go through a whole rotation for each one. Okay, I have wrapped mine 40 times. I'm at the bottom here, so now I want to cut. Come down a little bit because it'll shrink up. All right, now we're going to cut 3 pieces that just measure whatever you're measuring, go around once. It doesn't have to be exact. These are going to be used for tying. So I'm just going to make another 2 the same length. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. Now, take one piece. I am going to use my needle. You don't have to. You can just push it through. This made it easier for me because I want to make sure I come underneath all of those loops. Okay. Come up here to the top. Even up your ends. And you're going to tie it really, really tight. And make yourself a couple of knots. Again, for good measure. should be about in the middle of your loops. Now come down to the bottom. A longer pair of scissors would work better. These scissors are not as sharp as they could be. So come along the bottom here and just cut your loops. I have to come in a couple of times. It's really, really thick. Again, don't worry if it's not perfectly even. Try to keep it right about in the middle. But if it's not perfectly even, it doesn't matter because you're going to be trimming these up. And you probably have some stragglers here. Okay, now take it off. When I first made it, I tried taking it off before I cut the bottom. This made it a lot easier. Okay. Now, take one of your other pieces that you cut. I came down about, I don't know, an inch, inch and a half. I just kind of eyeballed it. Kind of even up your ends. Doesn't have to be perfect. And just eyeball it. You can always adjust it. We are going to go ahead and make a knot. And with one end, just wrap it. Kind of pull tight. You want to really make a nice ball here. Come around. And I'm going to use my needle again. I'm going to come up way into the middle because I want to drag this in. It's not going to show. Thread that through. Okay. Now we're way in here. You could have done that from the top if you wanted to. It's just going to hide. And now take your other piece. I'm going to go around the other way. Again, keep it kind of snug. Come over that knot. About right there is good. You can come in from the top if you like. Away into the center. I'm going to start at the top here. Go way in to the center, pull it through, and it's just going to hide. I kind of like coming in from the bottom better, but it's easier to thread. Now, don't drive yourself crazy, but go ahead and pull some of these to even them up. You'll end up doing this again. I like to kind of push it, mush it down, make it into more of a sphere. We're going to do that again. Take your last piece of yarn that you cut, come down. Ooh, I made mine a little too round. You can also pull these over a little bit. But again, don't drive yourself crazy because at the end, it's going to look really cute. Don't worry too much about all that. All right, so come down about as far as you did here. If you want to measure it, you can. I didn't, just eyeballed it. Same thing. Looks good to me. Pull it tight. The reason I like to have two of these wraps and two spheres here, sort of spheres. um, if I just have one, to me it looks like a ghost. Just don't think it looks as cute if you're using embroidery thread. It does look cute like that, but especially with this chunky yarn, I just thought it looked too much like a ghost. So I did the two and I liked it. Right, bring that down there. Okay. Make it kind of tight. Snug it up. Come in again. Bring that up so you can open it up. Get it in there. Make sure you get all your pieces. All right. Pull it in. Hide it. Pull it tight. Now it's in the middle. Just hiding that knot. All right, now let's come back around. Come over that knot. Back around again. A little bit looser that time so that we can hide the knot a little better. And same thing. Come in. Grab that. Open it up so you can push it through. Come down through the center so we can hide it. Mush on it a little bit. If you decide it's too high up, just pull it down a little bit. You can still pull on these. It's not too late. There we go. Okay. And there's your big chunky tassel. You come along the end, clip them to make it even. I'm not going to do that. I already have my 4 done. You're going to attach it to the corner. It will fall either way. Let's see, I want to use my small hook to get in my corner. Pull one end of your tie through. Yourself, I would say tie it twice. And now you're going to do the same thing just to give it a nice finished look. Wrap it, wrap it, wrap it. Not too tight. It looks better if you leave it a little bit on the looser side. You can also use your hook if you'd rather use that instead of the needle. Just pull it into the center. Come in here and catch it again. That was a little bit longer than I was expecting it to be. And just keep tucking it in. Tuck it on down. I could have come down with that one. That was longer than I normally leave it. Okay. And same thing with the other piece. Just wrap, wrap, wrap. Okay, I've got this one shorter. That is going to come out if I go down with it, so I'm going to come up with it. I'm going to come up from the top, I'm going to come down into my wrap here and pull it up. Might have been better to go with a needle for that part. I think I'll just weave that in. And just cut that little end there. Yeah, trust me, you're going to keep messing with these until you're happy with them. But isn't that cute? I love these big chunky tassels. And again, just come through, cut as little off as you need to because you're going to come through and make sure they're all fairly equal, all four of your tassels, one in each corner. And then you're done. That is it. I hope you enjoyed this pattern. It is one of my many patterns, mostly blankets. I have the written pattern, and they're all free and no ads on my website, www.i-crochet.com. I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. That helps me out. And give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Hope so. And any comments are appreciated. If you have any issues, any trouble, you need some help, write your question in the comments and I'll get back to you pretty quickly. Thanks a lot. I don't know about you, but I think these big chunky tassels just make this blanket. What do you think? Subscribe so you can be notified when my new pattern comes out.